Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon on YouTube, and then I post it to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, psychology today will pop up. Click on that. It will have all of the therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They don't represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. Okay, so to get everything out of the way, Hawaii was amazing. Amazing. Oh my God, we had so much fun. Hiked up to Waimea Falls. My nephew swam in the falls. I was like, I can't see the bottom of that. I'll just watch you from the shore. Thank you. Had a great time. The Gingers had a great time. It was awesome. And thank you so much to everyone who showed up. It was amazing. You guys are amazing. And I love you very, 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 very much. And you're stronger than you know. So good job, guys. And thank you for being so welcoming. It was so cool because it's like a lady brought her aunt with her and she's like, can you please move to Hawaii? And I'm like, oh, you have no idea. So anyway, it was awesome. So if you are interested in purchasing these mugs, they are available on eBay. If you are interested in purchasing the books, they are available on Audible and on hard print, hard copy, not hard copy, real copy. Audible and a real book. Anyway, these are available on Amazon, so you can get them there. And this is a Q&A session, pre-record, because I wanted to answer these questions without being distracted from all of the comments. I am doing a show tomorrow. It is going to be on boundaries. We need to talk more about boundaries. People don't understand what boundaries are, and I want to talk more about that because that's one of the things that I see. So there's a lot of codependency issues. That's what I saw when I was in Hawaii. It was a lot of codependency issues and people getting confused and feeling guilty for saying no to their abuser. So I want to talk more about that tomorrow. Okay. So the first question is, can adult ADHD intensify personality disorders? Yeah, it can. Absolutely. So remember, anything can be comorbid. Anything can be comorbid. You can have bipolar and a personality disorder. You can have depression and a personality disorder. You can have ADHD and a personality disorder. So yeah, ADHD can definitely intensify any sort of personality disorders. And here's the deal. I honestly believe that ADHD has been overdiagnosed. I do. The reason why is because disordered parents want their kids on some sort of medication to make them behave. So disordered parents are unwilling to deal with a normal 6-year-old or a normal 2-year-old or a normal whatever. And so they immediately go to their doctor and demand medication. And I am so opposed to that. Our brains do not fully develop until we are in our late 30s. So if you're shoving medication onto that brain, you are changing the way that that brain is going to develop. So I see a lot of issues with people that were put on Ritalin, Adderall, etc. at a young age, and they're having all sorts of problems later on in life. So causation, it's just what I see, guys. I'm just reporting what I see. So is there ADHD? Yes, I do believe that some people truly are ADHD or ADD. But I think it's over-diagnosed. And I do see disordered parents diagnosing their kids and blaming the behavior that they themselves are creating on, oh, well, they're bipolar, or they're this, or they're depressed, or they're ADHD, or they need meds. They, them, as opposed to, how are you parenting? So anyway, does it intensify the personality disorders? Yes, it can, absolutely. However, you want to take a look first at, is there trauma going on in the family? You know, is it a personality disorder or is it a behavioral issue? Okay, is it trauma? Because remember, borderline personality disorder is rooted in trauma. You handle the trauma, you generally get rid of a lot of that behavior that's not healthy. So, and of course, a dysfunctional family is not going to be like, hey, we're dysfunctional, let's go get help. What they do is deny, blame, shift. It's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. I want a drug to fix this. I want the magic pill to fix this. And then they do that. So can it intensify personality disorders? Yeah, it can, but anything can. So, you know, get with a good therapist to decide what's really going on. You need to figure out if it's, you know, CPTSD, PTSD, or is it a personality disorder? So, you know, because those two often get misdiagnosed. So it's like, because BPD is rooted in trauma, oftentimes people who've been incredibly traumatized get diagnosed as having borderline, when in fact they're incredibly traumatized. And yes, they may have some borderline traits, but it's like, fix the trauma. Don't get me started. Anyway, there that is. I hope that answered that question. If it did not, please IM me again and let me know if that answered your question. How to wake up flying monkeys, for example, adult children. Well, I talked a little bit about this when I did my show on flying monkeys. Flying monkeys, again, are one of two issues going on. Either they are narcissists themselves and they are going to side with the abuser because they enjoy the drama, the trauma, the shit show that is, you know, an abuser's thing, because abusers can't live without drama. They can't live without trauma. They have to involve a third party. They have to always have a villain. They have to always be focusing in on somebody else. And it's just this, you know, da 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 da. Look over here, don't look over here, look over here, don't look over here. You know, it's that kind of thing. And flying monkeys either really enjoy that, and they are narcissists themselves, minor narcissists themselves, and they are kowtowing to the major narcissist, or they're just freaking ignorant and they don't understand what's going on. Okay, so how do you wake them up? You tell the truth. And then you watch the behavior. So here's the deal. After you have spoken your truth and have let your tribe know what's going on, if they side with your abuser and continue the drama, they are flying monkeys, and that is not going to change. And that includes adult children. So, and here's the thing. It's like adult children are going to be very conflicted because there's going to be a part of them that wants to believe that both sets of parents have their best interest at heart. But the truth of the matter is, a disordered parent never has a child's best interest at heart. And so that child is going to be very conflicted. What you can do is you can offer to go to therapy with them. But here's the deal. If after the therapy session, they use the information that you've given in therapy against you, be done. That is the sign of a narcissist. That is the sign of a disordered person. A disordered person will take what is said in therapy and then use it against you. That's not what therapy is about. Therapy is about getting to the truth. Therapy is about speaking your truth and about working and healing relationships, fixing the relationship, being able to communicate well. That's what therapy is about. If the person you go to therapy with then turns around, and I don't care who they are, I don't care if they're your child, I don't care if they're your friend, if they then turn around and use that information against you, they are disordered. Be done. Okay? It's dangerous to go to therapy with a narcissist or an abuser because they will use what is said in therapy against you. That is simply what they do. And, or if you are still in an abusive relationship and you yourself seek therapy, they will harangue you, demanding to know what you talked about, what was said, who did you say, what did you talk about, da 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 da, and they'll want to know everything. And here's the truth. Therapy is for you. It's not for the person who's not there. It's for you, and you have a right to keep that part private. Period. And anybody who says otherwise, who goes, well, I'm your spouse, I need to know everything. No, they don't. They really don't. If it doesn't really, you know, if it's because they're abusive and you're trying to leave them, they don't need to know everything. Sorry. You know, that's not what therapy's for, but they will lie to you and tell you that. So, okay, I hope that answered that question. If it does not, again, IM me, please, and let me know. Okay, emotional incest, sex jokes, inappropriate jokes, oversharing, too much information, etc. Okay, so disordered parents do this. They have no boundaries, which is why I want to talk more about it tomorrow, because disordered people don't understand this is where I begin and end, this is where you begin and end, there's a separation, separate, and they don't understand appropriate and inappropriate. So they will say the most inappropriate sexual jokes to children, in front of children. They will say the most inappropriate things to children, in front of children, etc., because they don't get that there's any sort of boundary and that this may not be appropriate. So emotional incest is when a parent overshares, uses the child as their confidant. That's what I see a lot. And it damages the child because the child is A, forced to grow up uber fast, B, now has all of this fear, obligation, and guilt to caretake the parent who's using them as a confidant. Your children are not your fucking therapist. Stop it. You want to talk to somebody who is a therapist. You want to talk to a friend who's an adult. You leave the kids out of it. They don't need to know this shit. They don't. They don't need to know your sex life. They don't need to know what's going on in your relationship. They don't need to know how miserable you are. They don't need to know about the divorce plans. They don't. You know, it's a need-to-know basis with kids. And it's not their responsibility to fix you. But a lot of these disordered parents, man, I'm telling you, they put this onus on this child or children, and they use them as counselors, and they use them as sounding boards, and they use them as allies, and they use them as pawns, and they put all of this stuff onto the kid, and it's too much. It's too much. Again, the brain does not stop developing until the late 20s. So if you're shoving all this stuff on a 10-year-old or below, or even a 15-year-old, that's too much. I'm sorry. Stop it. But disordered people do that. And so that's emotional incest, is when the parent overshares, inappropriate sexual jokes, inappropriate, overshare, talking about their sex life, talking about their problems, demanding that the kid be the sounding board, the listener. That's not the kid's job. The kid's job is to be a kid. But disordered people, again, they assign people roles, remember? So golden child, scapegoat, ignored middle child, comedian, etc., and therapist. So that kid gets dumped with all of the stuff that's going on, and now they're having to hold the space for all of this crap, and they haven't got clue one how to do it because they're not therapists, they're kids. So yeah, that's emotional incest. That is absolutely when a parent overshares to a child their problems, their sex life, inappropriate jokes, whatever. That's emotional incest, because that's demanding that that child now become the keeper of secrets, which is not healthy, and that child become the adult. And that's not fair. That's not fair. If you've got something to say, go find a therapist, go find an adult, but do not dump it on your kid. So that's emotional incest. I hope that answers the question. If it does not, please IM me and let me know. So there we go. Okay, siblings who are abusive, learned helplessness versus free will. Okay, free will. Everyone has a right to make their own choices. And some people will choose through free will to be a victim. That's just the way it is. And it is learned helplessness. It is a learned behavior. People do not pop out of the womb going, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. They don't. They learn that behavior. That is a learned behavior. So free will is the right to choose. And sometimes the right to choose is absolutely the wrong fucking choice. But, everyone has got the right to follow whatever path they are on. Now, is that frustrating to the rest of us sitting here going, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my God. Yeah, it is. But everyone has the right to be stupid. They do. And some people, no matter how you treat them, no matter how you train them, no matter how you educate them, will inevitably, if there's an easy road and a hard road, they will pick the hard road. That is an indication of a disorder. So the people who continually choose to be victims have a disorder. They do. It's disordered thinking, because a normal, healthy person who loves themselves, who's got good self-esteem and good boundaries, is never going to choose to be a victim. I'm sorry, I get nothing out of being a victim. It's like, fuck y'all, bring it. I'm not a victim. I am fucking not a victim. Try me. So, but people who get something out of being a victim have a disorder, and they get a payoff. Remember, every behavior has got a payoff. So you got to figure out what the payoff is. What is the payoff for this person being continually a victim? There's a payoff. They're getting something out of it. Is it sympathy? Is it government, issued stuff? I mean, some people honestly do that. It's like, oh, I can't do anything and I can't work, but I'm going to stand out by the freeway holding a sign for 8 hours. What? If you can do that, you can work for somebody. So, it bothers me when people are perpetual victims. And there's a payoff. There's always, 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 always a pay off. Now, listen, I worked in the homeless shelter. I know what disabled looks like. I know what mentally unable to hold a job looks like. These people standing out by the freeway, dressed really nicely, clean, yeah. They're not the ones who need the help. So go to your homeless shelter, help those people out. Or better yet, help out the people in Paradise, California that lost all their homes. There you go. So do not give money to the homeless. They'll just go use it for drugs or alcohol. Trust me, I worked in the field for years, so that's what they do. So, all right. Okay. So I hope that it explains learned helplessness. So it's a learned thing, and there's a payoff to it, okay? There's something they're getting out of it. It's either, the sympathy or the government assistance and feeling like they're being taken care of, or, there's a lot of disorder with that. Is there free will? Yeah, absolutely. And perfectly capable people that can get out of an abusive relationship sometimes choose not to, because there's a payoff. There's something that's keeping them stuck. And if you read my book, You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him cha-cha, which is all about why some people stay in abuse and others don't. Some people go, screw it, peace out, I'm done being abused. I'm done. And other people go, I don't want to leave. Oh my God, I have fear, I have obligation, I have guilt, I've got this person I need to take care of, I've got that person I need to take care of, I can't possibly leave. They come up with 100,000 million reasons why they can't get out of an abusive relationship, even though their lives are in danger. So, it just depends on what the payoff is and what the fear is. What is keeping them stuck? What is keeping them in victim mode? What is the payoff? What are they getting out of it? So that's the question to ask. So yeah, absolutely. Some perfectly capable people will choose learned helplessness. And it sucks for those of us who love them, because you sit there and you look at them and you go, what the fuck are you doing? Dumbass. It's like, hello, life could be so much easier, but no. Anyway. All right. Siblings who are abusive. Okay, let's talk about that. Siblings who are abusive. Again, a learned behavior. People do not pop out of the womb going, hey, I think I'm going to be a real dick. They just don't. It's a learned behavior, and it's learned through conditioning. And if there is an abusive parent, they will mimic the abusive parent. So siblings oftentimes are as abusive as the toxic family. Hold on, the toxic parent. And of course, they have access to their other siblings, more so sometimes than the toxic parents do. Unfortunately, there's really not much you can do until you get out of the home. And then at that point, you ask yourself the question, if I were not related to these people, would I have anything to do with them? If the answer is no, act accordingly. This is where the guilt comes in. I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow, because when we draw boundaries, we oftentimes feel guilty because of the codependency issue. So in a healthy, normal relationship, there is no fear, there is no obligation, and there's no guilt. So if there's fear, obligation, or guilt going on in any relationship, that's not a healthy relationship. Be done. Okay? So there that is. Okay. And honestly, a lot of times when people grow up and get out of the house, one of two things happens. Either the bully of the family realizes what they were doing. Sometimes that happens, very rarely, but sometimes it does, when they go, oh geez, I was trying to, please dad or please mom or do whatever. Or other times they just continue being abusive, and you have to, for your own safety and your own sanity, go done, 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 with a side of done and an extra helping of done. So, okay, so there's that. Okay, question. How did you heal yourself? Did you do DBT? Okay, and I've talked about this in this book, What's Wrong with Your Dad?, which is available on Amazon. So basically, I started going to therapy when I was 15, 16, around in there, because I recognized my family was not normal in any way, shape, or form. And I did things with my older sister, Terry. She and I did EST. We did the whole EST thing. We did, meditation, yoga, long nights talking. I had an older sibling that was like a second mom to me, and she and I were able to counsel each other and help each other out of this situation. And she encouraged me to go to therapy when I was, 13, 14 years old. And of course, going to therapy in my family was forbidden. As soon as my dad found out I was going, he made sure I couldn't go again. And so I had to wait until I left home at 17, got into college, went to therapy there at the college. And then I got, Ruth Hornaday was the one I was seeing when I was a kid. I'm not even sure she's still alive now, but she was awesome. I loved her. She was great. And then I went into the college campus and did therapy there. And then when I moved to Beaverton, Oregon, I did Fabian Smith. She was awesome up in Oregon. And for 7 years, I laid on a couch and I just worked through it. Journaling, you know, meditation, talk therapy, you know, examining the behaviors. It's like, how do I want to behave? I don't want to behave like these assholes. So how do I want to behave? You know, again, not being a victim. It's like, okay, yeah, dad did all this stuff to me. Mom did all this stuff to me. And at some point you have to go, okay, well, that sucked. Now what? So it's all about you, basically. It's like, how do you want to be? How do you want your life to look like? What are you going to do now? What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So that's really how I worked on myself, is I continued, and I continue to go to therapy. Guys, guess what? Good therapists go see good therapists. If your therapist is not seeing a therapist, how are they staying clear? How are they keeping grounded? Do you see where I'm going with this? Because I hear some pretty horrific stories day in, day out. And if I didn't have somebody to talk to, I would go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So there it is. So you know what I'm saying? It's like, you continue to work on yourself. You are always a work in progress. It never stops, and that's okay. You know, I think that's the thing, is that, you know, we get with these narcissists, or we get with these abusers, and they're like, everything has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. Well, fuck that shit. No, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good enough. Good enough. Good enough. And that was the hard thing for me, because my dad being not only an abuser, but an alcoholic and an opiate addict, it was like, okay, perfect pictures, perfect pictures, perfect pictures. Wait, good enough. It's good enough, you know? So that's how I worked on myself, is I read everything. The books I recommend, I read them. You know, it's like, what's out there? How can I heal myself? How can I make myself better? Where am I feeling lacking in? If somebody is feeling lonely, it's a self-esteem issue. It's a self-esteem issue. Work on the self-esteem workbook by Schiraldi. It's a great workbook. Do it. You know, if you're feeling like people are mowing over your boundaries, that's a boundary and a self-esteem issue. So get The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. These are things to work on. CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. What were the messages you got as a kid, or what were the messages you got in your abusive relationship? You know, work on that stuff. So it's always a matter of where you want to grow. What do you want to change? How do you want your life to look? You know, and you keep striving for that. And it's a never-ending process. And it's not a chore. It's kind of like, this is great. You know, I get to learn this thing now. This is awesome, you know? So it's just being a willingness to look at your part. What am I doing? Okay. You know, yeah, that's great. I can blame the abuser forever and a day. I can blame mom and dad. I can blame, you know, this relationship or that relationship. But at some point you have to kind of go, okay, where have I been being a victim? So remember, learned helplessness. So this is where you take personal responsibility and you go, okay, I want to change this. Yeah, I want to work on this. Yeah, I want to be different. I want this to be different. So if I want this to be different, I need this to be different. Does that make sense? So you work on yourself. You work on yourself constantly, and you just read everything you can. Do as much stuff as you can. I loved, when I did Est, it was awesome, because I'd never experienced anything like that. And it was freeing, and it was amazing, and it's also outdated now. But you know, that was my first experience with, you know, kind of that new age kind of, you know, really opening up your mind and really taking personal responsibility and all of that stuff. And it was great, because I hadn't had that in my family. My family was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, really, truly crazy. And my dad's favorite thing was the blame game. It's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's fault, you know? So it was really cool to go explore things like that. And then, of course, yoga. I love yoga. Yoga is awesome. You know, it's great for clearing the mind. It's great for breathing. It's great for relaxation, because oftentimes when we've been in an abusive relationship, our cortisol levels are like, you know, and pretty soon our ears and our shoulders become one. So it's really important to learn to breathe and how to relax. And so what I do is I just continually work on myself, and I'm constantly striving for what is the greater good. So there you go. I hope that answered your question. I did mostly not DBT. I did CBT. So it was talk therapy, CBT, changing the thoughts, changing the mistaken beliefs, changing the thoughts. That's what CBT is all about, cognitive behavioral therapy. So cognitive behavioral therapy works on the mistaken thoughts and the mistaken beliefs that have gotten shoved into your head by toxic mom and dad. So you have to undo all of that stuff. I mean, my mom and dad had some belief systems that were completely wrong, like completely. My dad was so incredibly sexist, racist, ageist, every ist you can think of, you know, John Birch society. I mean, it was pretty scary. And you had to undo all of that stuff, you know, and my mom had borderline traits. Absolutely. Her mom was a narcissist. Not surprising. She married my dad. You know, and so she was very histrionic. And so I had to learn, like, okay, does this need to be DEFCON 1 or does this need to be, you know, no DEFCON at all? So it's just a matter of analyzing, self-analyzing, 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 and working on you and being willing to take a look at how fucked up the family is. And that is the hardest thing for adult children of toxic parents, because like I said, the inner child work. The inner child so desperately wants the parents to be for their best interests. And when you realize that those parents were not in your best interest, that they were in their best interest because they were self-centered and selfish, that's a real heartbreaker, because then that inner child feels very, what's the word I'm looking for? Cut loose, like floating in space, like, oh my God, nobody's got my back. What the fuck? You know, and it's terrifying. It is. And that's why having a good therapist to keep your ass grounded is important. So I cannot emphasize that enough. Can you do the work on your own? Yeah, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. But it helps to have a therapist to go, breathe. You're okay. This is normal. This response, this fear is normal. Honestly, that's really what a good therapist does, is they help bring you back down to reality and, hey, come on, breathe. Inner child's safe. You're okay. Everything's fine. Your fear is normal. This is valid. You're valid. You're valid. So anyway, that's how I worked on myself. I hope that answered the question. If it does not, IM me, let me know. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. If you could pretty please not email me. Sorry guys, I don't want your emails on my counseling page. And I'm not even going to start, I'm going to stop responding to them, because it's like there's too many of them coming in, guys. And that is for my professional page. So this is for clients to make appointments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So please stop emailing me on my AHA counseling page. Please stop. Also, please stop emailing Chris at Mercury questions. Stop it. I'm not going to answer them. Stop it. That is only for people who want me to appear somewhere. Chris doesn't have time to answer those questions or send them to me, and my staff doesn't have time to do it. So stop, please. If you have questions, IM me on We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez on Facebook. My staff will see that, okay? And then they will let me know, okay, there's stuff you got to look at. So, you know, please stop emailing my professional account, and please stop emailing Chris at Mercury. Mercury is for my manager to figure out where I'm going next. Speaking of which, where I'm going next is Tacoma. So I will be in Tacoma, Washington on December 1st. So please, if you are interested in coming to that, please do sign up at the Eventbrite site. I would appreciate that, so we can get a head count and I can know how many books to bring and how big of a space we need and all that sort of good stuff. So apparently we've had quite a few people signing up for that, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, I think that is it. So if you have questions, do not email me. Do not email Chris either. I want you to IM We Need to Talk at Chris Godinez, okay? I'd appreciate that, because what I'm going to start doing is having staff just delete stuff. If it doesn't, you know, if it's on my professional page and it does not have to do with, you know, with me, with my profession, I'm going to delete it, because there's just, ain't nobody got that kind of time. So there is that. All right. And speaking of which, I want to thank Susan Goodrich so much. She has done a phenomenal job while I was on vacation, getting rid of trolls, you know, answering stuff, you know, liking things. Thank you so much, Susan. You are a goddess of epic proportions, and thank you for being in my life. I appreciate you. All right, I think that's it. So tomorrow on We Need to Talk, I am going to talk about boundaries more and why they are so important, and the guilt that comes along with drawing boundaries. So I want to talk more about that. Okay, guys, have a great day, and I will talk to you later.